I have over 100,000 Christmas lights. They pull over 275 amps of power. I have over a half-mile of extension cord, over 100 splitters. My motorcycles get lights, my trucks get lights, my dog even gets lights. I broke my ankle once, my crutches got lights. Everything in my house gets lights. I think it's like Groundhog Day in my neighborhood. The neighbors always wait to see when I start getting my Christmas lights out, then they know it's time for the season. When I was growing up, every Christmas Eve, my granddad would take us out in his van and we would drive around our town and look at Christmas lights. And I always loved that, and that was really the big day of Christmas for me. So when I was little, I told myself that when I got my own house, I was gonna be one of those people. No matter how carefully you wind up a cord, you always end up with one of these. My granddad called it a bird's nest. After you do it a half mile at a time, you call it something else. Now, a normal house has about 120 amps of power running to it. My Christmas lights alone take 275 amps. I have 12 20 amp GFCIs and a bird's nest. What happens here is all the cables in the yard, on the house, everything comes up through here. They all plug into these outlets. One of my neighbors actually had a brother who was an electrician, and he just showed up at my house one day and said, you know, I'm an electrician, you know, what would you need to make this like you want it? And I said, well, I'd love to have more power. And he showed up at my house one day with all this equipment, put it up, and refused to take a dime for it. He said he liked Christmas, he liked kids, he liked toys, so he thought it was a good cause, and I was very grateful to him for that. This is the shelf where I keep my supplies. Zip ties, you can never have too many of these. Power splitters, more power splitters. Soldering iron, hot glue gun, measuring tape, all the sort of stuff you need. Electrical tape, you always need that. Spare bulbs, more spare bulbs. Silicone caulk, gutter clips, electrical connectors, wire, lights for the dog, my caulk gun, screw gun, piece of paper for doodling ideas, my light tester, measuring tape. The hardest part of getting this done is really the logistics. This is some of my math, trying to figure out how many lights I've got, how much power they're gonna use. Make sure you've got the juice, because you don't want your roof going off every time you turn on your microwave. People ask me if I want to be like the Griswolds in Christmas Vacation, but I always remind them that he only had 25,000 lights, and I have 100,000. Highly technical jiggle and shake method. And there you go. It generally takes me about 2.5 weeks. I give myself a vacation every year just to put up Christmas lights. As often the case, you come up 6 inches short, which just means you have to backtrack a little bit. I don't know if y'all could just see that gigantic spider that just ran out onto my hand. Yeah, he made a break for it before I got a chance to scream like a girl and run. Just enough. And there's a window. There are a lot of dangers with putting 100,000 Christmas lights on your house. You don't want to trip and fall, because it's a good trip off of that roof. Ooh. I had to put in more floor in my attic to store all the Christmas lights. In the process, I missed my step, tumbled on some Christmas lights, and fell through the ceiling. As you can see, my roof's a little steep, so I've got some special equipment I use to help me get around without taking the express route down. I was slipping and sliding off my roof one day, and a guy was walking his dog. He stopped and told me that he used to be a construction worker and that there was a trick the roofers used to help them get around on the roof. They would take a couch cushion, and they called it a Cadillac. They would lay it out on the shingles and lay on top of that to keep it sliding off the roof. Well, I tried it and it worked, but I was moving around so much, I decided to make my own. So I just took the cushions, taped them to myself, and I became the Cadillac. The Cadillacs come in handy several times. It really speeds up the process, because as you can see, there's a lot of lights and there's a lot of crawling around to do. You know, you get your balance, you learn which shoes stick to the roof better, you learn which ways to lay. If you lay on your stomach and your belt buckle catches something, you'll take off. So you gotta turn your belt buckle around sideways. Hey, it worked. If you ever find yourself starting to fall off the roof, just spread out and slide. Even if you don't have the foam, if you tumble, you're just gonna pick up speed and go flying off into your yard. So if you can slide, that'll at least slow you down. Your feet will catch the gutter or catch a valley in the roof and you'll be okay. I haven't fallen off this roof, but I've had a few close calls. The worst thing is when you're up there really late at night, when it's cold out, you can be on the roof, the dew will fall and then it'll freeze. And I found myself iced onto the roof a few times. That's kind of spooky crawling down. This tree will have 100 colored lights and colored balls on it by the time I'm done. All these lights are powered by the electrical system of the vehicle, so I can take them out on the road. I wired the cigarette lighter plug onto this motorcycle specifically for this wreath so I can run my holiday lights. And it's a lot of fun to ride down the highway at night and pass a carload of kids and they wave because your motorcycle and your suit are all covered in lights. We're ready to go. The major scene on the bricks was the bricks were sort of interfering with the look. So I welded up this framework and I stretched some outdoor carpet over it to give us a nice black backdrop. Hopefully it'll look like a night sky. So it'll be a really good contrast. This is sort of in the center of the house. So this is gonna be the centerpiece of my whole display. The most important light is the spotlight that goes on this box. This is the Toys for Tots drop box. We put this out and people fill this thing up every night. Makes it worth every minute. Every time somebody drives by to look, when people see me in the summertime and tell me they can't wait for the lights to come on, if a total stranger pulls up and blows the horn and drops a toy in the toy box, it makes it all worth it. And that's really why I do this. It makes people happy. Give me a countdown.
4, 3, 2, 1.
I love everything. Very, very creative.
A lot of people begin to forget what Christmas is all about. And this guy right here, he still got it.
When we going down the block, I say, here comes the #1 house in the neighborhood. It's weird.
Every time somebody drives by to look, blows the horn and drops a toy in the toy box, it makes it all worth it. And that's really why I do this. It makes people happy. You didn't think I was going to stop on just the outside. Let me show you the icing on the cake. If you find your way to Athens in December, come by and see us. There's more lights every year. Merry Christmas.